In the South China Sea, one woman commanded more ships than most navies on Earth. She ran a floating empire of 70,000 pirates, and for years, no army could stop her. Then she did something almost no pirate in history ever managed: she won. This is Ching Shih, the pirate queen who commanded 70,000 outlaws. This is the full story. Chapter 1. The Flower Boat Girl. Around 1775, a girl named Shi Yang was born in Guangdong Province, in southern China. Her family was poor, like millions of others along the coast. When she reached her teens, she was sent to work on a floating brothel in Canton. These boats were called flower boats. They floated on the Pearl River, and they served sailors, merchants, and local officials. Life there was hard and dangerous. But Shi Yang was smart. She learned to read people. She learned which men had money. She learned which secrets people were hiding. She learned which men could be useful to her. Within a few years, she was known across the port for her sharp mind and her charm. Canton's flower boats were not just for pleasure. Pirates used them too. They met there. They traded information. They planned raids in secret. In 1801, one of the most feared pirate captains in the South China Sea walked onto Shi Yang's boat. His name was Zheng Yi. His family had been pirates for generations. He was already building a coalition of pirate fleets along the coast. Some stories claim Shi Yang set her own price for marriage. She wanted half of his plunder. She wanted a real say in his operations too. Historians cannot confirm that exact deal. One thing is certain. She married him that same year. She did not stay on the sidelines. Canton's harbor in the early 1800s was a chaotic, crowded place. Thousands of small boats crammed the waterways. They sold everything from fish to opium to information. It was one of the busiest ports in the world. It was also one of the most lawless, close to shore. Officials were often more interested in bribes than in law and order. This was the perfect place for someone like Shi Yang to learn key skills. She learned how to read a room. She learned how to negotiate. She learned how to survive among violent, unpredictable men. By the time Zheng Yi found her, she already understood the local pirate networks. She understood them better than most men twice her age. Chapter 2. Building an Empire. As Zheng Yi's wife, Shi Yang took a new name, Zheng Yi Sa. It simply means wife of Zheng Yi. But the title undersold her. She sailed with the fleet. She took part in raids. She learned how pirate crews worked. She learned how they argued over loot. She learned how fear kept men in line. Zheng Yi had already convinced rival pirate captains to stop fighting each other. He got them to join forces instead. 6 years into the marriage, his coalition had grown into a real confederation. Thousands of pirates from many separate crews now answered to him. It was one of the largest criminal organizations the region had ever seen. Zheng Yi also adopted a teenage boy years earlier. He was a fisherman's son named Zhang Bao, and Zheng Yi had kidnapped him. Zhang Bao grew into a skilled, ambitious pirate leader in his own right. He became close to both Zheng Yi and his wife. This bond would matter more than anyone expected. In November 1807, Zheng Yi died. Some accounts say a storm sank his ship near Vietnam. Others say he died in a coastal raid. Either way, the confederation he built now had no leader. Dozens of pirate captains were ready to fight each other for control. By 1807, Zheng Yi's confederation was collecting tribute. It came from villages, fishing fleets, and merchant ships. This tribute came from a huge stretch of the Guangdong coast. Captains who joined the confederation got protection. They also got a share of the profits. Captains who refused often found their boats attacked within weeks. Zheng Yi watched all of this from the inside, not from a distance. She saw how fear, protection, and profit worked together. Together, they held the criminal network in place. That education would prove essential later. She would soon have to run the whole operation herself. Chapter 3. The Widow Takes Command. Most pirate leaders in Ching Shih's position would have lost everything within weeks. Instead, she moved fast. She reached out to her husband's closest captains, one by one, and secured their loyalty before anyone could challenge her. Her strongest move was her bond with Zhang Bao, her husband's adopted son. She made him her partner, then her lover, then eventually her husband. Together they controlled the largest single fleet in the Confederation, the one that flew a red flag. That fleet's strength backed her authority. No rival captain wanted to test it. In most pirate organizations of that era, a leader's death meant trouble. Rival captains would fight to carve up the fleet for themselves. Ching Shih had no formal military rank. She had no blood tie to the men she now needed to control. What she did have was information. She knew which captains trusted each other. She knew which ones resented Ching Shih's old decisions. She knew which ones simply wanted to keep making money. She used that knowledge to outmaneuver every rival, before they could organize against her. Within a year, Ching Shih was not just holding on to her husband's ships. She was expanding them. She kept the Confederation's fleets loosely united under one command. She and Zhang Bao stood at the top of that command. She proved something rare in pirate history. She inherited power through marriage and grief. Then she made that power stronger than it had ever been under a man. By 1808, few captains on the South China Sea dared question her orders. Before we move on to the next chapter, if you're enjoying this, please like the video, follow so you don't miss future videos, and turn on notifications. Chapter 4. The Six Flags. At its peak, around 1808, Ching Shih's confederation was organized into 6 separate fleets. Each fleet flew its own colored flag. The colors were red, black, white, blue, and yellow. The 6th color was either green or purple, depending on the account. Sources disagree on the exact numbers too. Some put the Confederation at around 1,800 vessels. Others count roughly 300 large war junks, plus many smaller supporting boats. Most agree the total force reached between 50,000 and 80,000 people. The number most used today, 70,000, sits right in the middle of that range. Ching Shih's own red flag fleet was the largest and most powerful of the 6. She had so many ships and so many men to control. So she enforced a strict code of laws. Disobeying a direct order meant beheading, on the spot. Going ashore without permission meant having an ear slit. A second offense meant death. Any pirate who assaulted a female captive was executed, no exceptions. All plunder had to be reported. It was shared out by fixed rules. No one could keep loot for himself in secret. This was not chaos. It was closer to a floating government. It had its own laws, its own taxes, and its own chain of command. Villages and merchant ships along the coast paid the Confederation for protection. It worked the same way a local warlord collects tribute. Refusing to pay usually meant a raid. In practice, Ching Shih's fleets controlled trade and travel across huge stretches of the South China Sea. The Qing government could do almost nothing to stop it. The Confederation's economy ran on more than plunder. Salt smuggling was a major source of income. Salt was a government monopoly, and it was always in demand. Opium smuggling was growing too. It fed a trade that would explode into full-scale wars a few decades later. Ching Shih's fleets also taxed merchant convoys. These convoys wanted safe passage through pirate-controlled waters. Sometimes she issued what amounted to official passes. A merchant with the right pass could sail safely. An unmarked ship in the same waters could sink within hours. Chapter 5. Terror of the Coast. The Qing dynasty tried repeatedly to crush the Confederation. Imperial fleets were sent out again and again. And again, they failed. Some of this was bad luck. Much of it was corruption. Local officials sometimes took bribes to look the other way. Some officials even sold supplies to the pirates they were supposed to be fighting. Ching Shih's fleets knew the coastline better than any government captain. They knew the currents and the hiding spots too. Government ships often chased them into shallow river mouths. Those government ships ran aground, or walked straight into ambushes. In 1809, things escalated. Ching Shih's forces clashed directly with a combined fleet. This fleet came from the Qing Navy and the Portuguese. The clash happened near the trading port of Macau. Portugal had its own colony there. It had agreed to help the Chinese government hunt the pirates down. The battle did not go as planned for the imperial side. Ching Shih's ships held their ground. They forced the combined fleet to retreat. It was a humiliating loss for two governments against one woman's confederation. Even the British East India Company avoided her fleets when it could. Its ships patrolled nearby trade routes, but direct confrontation was rare. By 1809, Ching Shih was arguably the most powerful naval force in the South China Sea. She was stronger than the regional governments meant to police it. Insurance costs for merchant ships passing through the region rose sharply. Some captains simply paid the pirates directly, rather than risk an attack. For ordinary sailors, that toll was just the price of doing business in these waters. Word of Ching Shih's power spread far beyond China. European sailors and traders passed through the region. They carried stories of the pirate queen back to their home ports. Some of those accounts were exaggerated. Even so, they are part of why she is still remembered today. In her own time, she was less a legend. She was more a daily fact of life for anyone moving goods along the southern Chinese coast. Chapter 6. The Amnesty. By 1809 and into 1810, the pressure on the Confederation was building from more than one direction. The Qing government kept offering rewards to any pirate captain willing to defect and take a pardon. Some captains started to accept. One of Ching Shih's own commanders switched sides, taking a large chunk of the fleet with him. Rivalries between the remaining captains grew sharper without Ching Shih's old authority to hold them together. Ching Shih read the situation clearly, the Confederation's best days were probably behind it. So she did something almost no pirate leader in history had the nerve to attempt. In April 1810, she walked into a Qing government office in Guangzhou. A group of pirate wives and children stood beside her. She offered to negotiate her own surrender. The terms were unusually generous. She and her commanders would keep their freedom. They would also keep much of their wealth. Around 17,000 of her followers were pardoned. Zhang Bao himself was given an official rank in the Imperial Navy. The largest pirate confederation in history did not fall in battle. It dissolved through a deal she personally struck. Walking into a government office to negotiate surrender was a serious risk. Qing officials could have simply arrested her on the spot. But years of failed naval campaigns had taught the government something too. Fighting the Confederation in open water rarely worked. A negotiated peace, even a generous one, cost far less than another failed war fleet. Both sides had reasons to want the same outcome. Ching Shih was the one person with enough authority to actually deliver it. Chapter 7. The Woman Who Walked Away. Zhang Bao spent his final years as a legitimate naval officer. He hunted down the same kind of pirates he once led. He died in 1822, in his mid-30s. That left Ching Shih a widow for the second time. She raised their son. She returned to an ordinary life in Guangzhou, the city once known as Canton. She kept much of the wealth and connections she had built at sea. She used them to build a new, quieter kind of power on land. Ching Shih opened and ran a gambling house in Guangzhou for years afterward. She lived quietly. She avoided further trouble with the law. She died in 1844, in her late 60s. It is a strange, almost unbelievable ending. This woman once commanded tens of thousands of outlaws. She fought off empires. Then she spent her final decades running a card table. Nobody ever came to arrest her for it. Historians who study piracy often call Ching Shih's confederation the largest in recorded history, at least by manpower. Blackbeard is one of the most famous pirates in Western history. At his peak, he commanded around 4 ships and a few hundred men. Ching Shih commanded a force that, by some counts, was hundreds of times larger. Her story has since drawn historians, novelists, and television writers. They are all pulled toward the same woman. She moved from a floating brothel to the top of the largest criminal organization of her age. Then she walked out of it again, alive and free. Ching Shih's story keeps getting retold as a pirate adventure. The more interesting part is what it says about power. She did not seize control through some grand plan. She seized it because a system broke down for a moment. She was simply the person ready to act. Poverty, piracy, and corrupt officials all fed into the same opportunity. Desperate people build real power in the cracks of a weak system. That pattern shows up again and again across history, long after the ships and flags are gone. In the end, Ching Shih did what almost no pirate in history ever managed. She built an empire on the water. Then she walked away from it, on her own terms, into an ordinary life on land. History always has one more secret. Follow the oddities of history, and witness the past up close.